Hi everyone, Therese here. So the first question I have for people is, are you experiencing really intense dreams at this time? As you know, the subconscious mind is the dream state, right? That's when we go into our dream state, we're going fully into the subconscious mind and experiencing all of it. So things that you may not have been able to work out on the conscious plane, you can definitely work out through the subconscious mind. Anything that needs healing right now that you haven't been able to heal consciously, doesn't matter. You can go work it out in the subconscious mind. The beauty is that there is, because we're in this time where our the energy centers of the mind are really activated into seeing into the subconscious mind. It's not that we're not doing the work we're not doing work more than normal, but we are more aware of the work that's being done. Right? We have more, the window is open to it. So allow yourself to take that information and let it move through your daily life. Right? Here's something my team wanted me to share with you today. This is what inspired me to really make sure I got my butt on here today, because I wanted to do a little demonstration for you. See this? This glitter? My son was like, "What's that drink?" And I'm like, "You can't drink this, honey." So here's my little, I want to talk to you about the nature of change. And I'm going to use this glass full of glitter as an example of the nature of change. So when we're discovering this hidden information about ourselves, we're discovering what is blocking us from that which we desire. Instantly, the minute you find out, oh, it's this feeling of, let's say, not being worthy. It's a feeling of not being worthy, right? So let's say that's what comes up. Instantly, you're probably going to say, well, I don't want that. I want to change that. I want to be the opposite. I want to feel worthy. I want to feel deserving, right? So what happens is we have an established pattern. And the established pattern is a feeling of not being. An old metaphor I like to use is like a train chugging down a track. It's already got momentum. The track is built and it keeps going. When you identify that pattern and you make the decision to change it, well, the train, right, it needs to slow down to change tracks or go in reverse or whatever it wants to do. It slows down before it picks up momentum to go in the direction you now desire. So here we are. So I'm going to stir the glass of glitter, and we're just going to call this the established pattern. Right? So here it is. It's got momentum. Now the spoon represents the mind, right? And the glitter right here represents the frequency that's happening. The mind is going along thinking the thought, I'm not worthy, and it is creating a frequency right here, right? Now we recognize, ooh, I don't like that thought. I want to change my mind. So we spin the other way. And what I want you to see there, so I'll do it again so you can see it. I want you to watch what happens to the glitter when we disrupt the current pattern, right? So I change. Do you see that? Okay. Here's the current pattern going along. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve to be happy. And then boop, I change my mind. What? Do you see what happened there? Right? So what happens here is we've got a disruptor. It's called a pattern disrupt. When you change your mind, right? So here we go. One more time. One more time because this is fun. Here's the pattern. I discover it and I change my mind. And you see a pattern disrupt, right? That's the chaos. Right, that's the chaos. But notice what happens. So the spoon, again, is the mind, and the mind is creating a reoccurring thought. This is the reoccurring thought which keeps the frequency going in a certain direction. So what we're looking at here is a reoccurring thought, creating a pattern, and watch this. I can stop thinking the thought, and the pattern continues to go, right? And as I pick the thought back up, it easily continues its momentum. Right? That's important to remember, that just because if you've been thinking the thought in a pattern over and over, and maybe you stop thinking the thought, it continues, the frequency continues. And then of course, because the frequency continues and we keep getting external proof of our thoughts of not being worthy or whatever the thought is. We get the external feedback, which then creates the mind going the same direction. Okay, so we've established that. Now we're talking about, I've changed the thought. I've not just stopped thinking it, but I'm literally changing it. So I go this way. And then we have a pattern disrupt. And that's what I want you to look at for a second. So right now, I want you to think about an area of your life that you've already identified that this ain't working. You've already offered the new thought. Can anybody give me some feedback? You don't have to make it personal or specific, but what is some feedback when you've identified the pattern and now you're offering a new thought? What happens? Do things just magically shift in the direction you want? No. What usually happens when we identify the pattern and then we try to establish the new thought, it creates a rough transition. Just like this beautiful glitter, change of thought, chaos, right? Chaos, literally. In a pattern disrupt is chaotic. And I want you to think about the transition a caterpillar goes through between caterpillar and butterfly, right? A caterpillar literally liquefies. It literally has a meltdown. That's the chaos point, right? That's going from one state and has to completely break down to go to a new state. So I want you to think about that as you identify a change. Before it's going to show up, it has to completely break down. Here's another point that they brought up to me. They said, Therese, good job. You're stirring your glitter. We love it. Now think the new thought one time. If we pick a new thought, like I'm now worthy, and we say it, but we say it sporadically, right? Just once or once in a while, we don't actually create a big change, right? We don't really create a big change. What does the mind need to do? Okay, I'm going to do it again. We'll go the old way one more time. What does the mind need to do to actually create the change? Right? It needs to continue thinking the new thought in order to, so the first thought is the pattern disrupt, and then the consistency of the new thought creates the new frequency. And one of the things that stops us from continuing the new thought, one of the things that really stops us from continuing the new thought pattern is we are looking outside for confirmation or validation, right? We are looking at our life, and what we see is we still see the mess that we saw before. We still see that it needs to get cleaned up. We don't see any difference outside of us. And what my team always says to me and asks me to share with other people is, if you want to see the changes you're making right now, close your eyes. Yeah, they're kind of like Yoda sometimes. It's such a strong point. I'll say it again. If you want to see the changes you're making right now, close your eyes. Because everything that you're doing, the new change that you are installing, is happening right on the inner planes. It's happening on a frequency level. And everything the external eye can see, or the physical eye can see, is the past. It is literally the past. I want you to look around at your very surrounding right now. You are probably going to see furniture that you bought in the past, right? Not the furniture. And even if you bought it today, guess what? Earlier today, still in the past, right? So you're going to see, if you just ate food, you're going to see what you chose before, not what you're choosing right now. You can't see that with the physical eye. And here's a crazy fact. Even our physical sun in the sky, when we perceive it with our eye, we are not seeing it at its current placement where it is in the present moment. We actually can see it 8 minutes in the past. So we just the way of the curvature of the earth, the way that it, the distance between space, the sun is in a position 8 minutes ahead of what we can physically see. So we are not even seeing something like the sun in its current location, we are seeing the past. So you can kind of, a kind of cool idea here is to think about everything I'm looking at in front of me right now is at least 8 minutes in the past. If not, like, okay, a couple seconds, if you've done something new, like that's now in the past, right? So if you want to see what you are creating, if you want to measure it, you have to close your eyes. You need to go inward to see if it's taking hold. The first things that change when we change, when we make a new decision or we decide to change a behavior, the first things that change are the thoughts and the frequency around us. And that's why you can be in one of those states where, and this is where faith comes in. This is what faith is. It's an understanding that the work that I do, right, energetically or with the mind, is taking hold right now. And it's going to take some time before I see it in my life. But if I constantly wait for proof, I actually drop the frequency. And so the message is around change, that if you're trying to change, if you are working on changing some aspect of yourself right now, what the universe would like you to know and take solace in is that it is happening, and that you must be consistent and even vigilant in your thoughts, depending on how long a current pattern has had its hold on you. So if it's a new thought, if it's a new pattern you've discovered or new behavior, it doesn't have as deep a hold on you. If it's a pattern that's been with you most of your life, that thing has roots, right? And to rip those roots out, it's going to take some effort, right? Effort on your time. And usually that effort is consistency. Also the faith as an aspect of effort, right? Faith is an aspect of effort. You know, when you can identify your core fear, it feels like I might die if I do this. And a really good resource actually for identifying your core fear that I found by accident is, what is it called? Mindmovies.com. So Mind Movies is a tool that write down the changes you'd like to make and create a montage almost out of those changes so that you can use it in meditation to help you guide yourself. So you should check them out, mindmovies.com. And I was reading Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Awesome book. I highly, highly recommend that. And he talks about using that tool in his workshop. So of course I was like, oh, I got to get on that. And I jump on the computer, go to Mind Movies. And the first thing they do is they have you take this success quiz. And really what they're using is they're using this psychology tool to identify the thing that's holding you back the most. The reason I bring it up at all is because I want to show you by example right now that you can be terrified of going after what you want and you can still do it. Confidence is not a personality trait. Like we often identify it as a personality trait, like that's a confident person or they have a lot of confidence. Confidence is more of a verb. It's more of a action state, meaning that you might not feel like a confident person, but you can grow that and you can use that momentum to get yourself going in the direction that you want to go. I've written down my personal formula because it's actually, I don't consider myself to be a confident person, but I have confidently gone in the direction of my dreams over and over again. And I realized that maybe this is just like I needed someone to say that, you know, you don't have to identify as confident to experience confidence and use it to your advantage. You just have to recognize what it looks like to put it into action, right? And I know that maybe that's a simple statement for some people. For me, for someone who has always felt nervous about putting myself out there, I do it a lot. And one of the things that comes back to me is people think I have confidence. And I would say that I take confident action. You know what I mean? I take the confident actions. I don't necessarily identify with it. So if you also feel that way and you're letting the lack of identification with a way of being keep holding you back, then I want to give you this guide to help you have like discernible tips and ways to move forward even as you're panicking. Even if you're panicking on the inside, there's a way to do it. Fake it till you make it is one of the ways, although sometimes that one can get in our way too, because authenticity is necessary for real forward momentum. Because there's, you know, two types of confidence. There's authentic confidence, which comes from just knowing where you're trying to go, and then there's the fake it till you make it that becomes bravado, which is we can all smell it. It's like stinky cheese, right? It's like one of those things where you're like, that person's not confident because they're overcompensating. They're just working on the fake it part and not the make it part. Yeah, you really need to focus on the make it part. All right, love you guys. Bye. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.